Hello, it's AIRBOYD, and we have a sort of a mini unboxing to do today. I received the Thrustmaster TCA Quadrant Airbus edition just a little under 2 weeks ago, but I was really busy with training and haven't had a chance to break it down yet and take a look at it. Eventually, I'll get this online, flying it on Microsoft Flight Simulator, and we can see how it interacts with the Airbuses that they have on there. So just a quick recap. As you will recall, if you see my previous videos, Thrustmaster is kind enough to send me the TCA Side Stick Airbus Edition along with the other yokes and throttles that I got from Microsoft for testing the Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. Now, one of the things I do like about the Thrustmaster is that they seem to think about everything. They got down to the point of even having opposite-sided buttons, so you can be left-handed or right-handed, depending on what side of the cockpit you prefer to fly from or what hand. You can also mix and match these, so if you're playing another game, say like Warthog, you can actually use different buttons, along with a hi-hat and everything else that's included with it. The left-right switch is on the bottom, 6 buttons on either side, and you can see that they have texture and they can be used and reprogrammed for anything. This little throttle back here is what we've been using so far to control the Airbus. What it lacks and where the quadrant comes into it here is there's only one detent here, and it's sort of back here about where reverse thrust is, and it's basically just been a rheostat backwards and forwards to deal with more thrust, less thrust. The controller goes like this, and of course we've had the rudder and or steering on the ground. So you can pretty much get away with flying almost anything you want in Microsoft Flight Simulator or any other flight simulator game using just this. Now, I prefer having the Thrustmaster pendular rudder system, which is a hefty product. It goes on the bottom, certainly makes it easier to do crosswind landings, etc. But you can definitely get away with doing it with this just by turning and using the rudder. Now, let's move on to the newest product, the Thrustmaster Quadrant Airbus Edition, which has finally come out. Again, authorized by Airbus, just like the yoke and the other systems that Thrustmaster is putting out. And it's a little hard to see in the picture here, but you can see that they have their own set of rudder pedals. There's a clamp to put it all together. There's the quadrant, and of course the add-on, which will have the flaps and the speed brake for everything. You can also put 2 sets together to do a 400 aircraft like a 330, 340, something like that. So how does it look? Well, it's pretty amazing, really. It's another high quality build product, which is exactly what you expect from Thrustmaster. It's everything you would expect. So here's the USB power. There's some other controllers here to link it all together. There you go. There's a top view. You can see that they've got engine on, off, start, and these buttons are mapped currently for autopilot on, autopilot off. You could add a 1, 2, or 3, 4 engine setting down here. You got your auto throttle disconnect on the side, thrust reverse lockout, and then you probably can't hear the detents, but here they are as you go through it. Now, if you've ever tried to do the crosswind landing in Madeira with the Airbus, you know that it's really difficult without having a detent or going back inside the cockpit to set it by hand while you're trying to do it to actually get this to work right. And it's a little counterintuitive if you've flown any other aircraft that has continuously moving throttles or anything similar to that where they kind of go backwards and forwards. Now, the 4 positions on the Airbus essentially are: the 0 notch is idle, climb, you got flex, max continuous, and then takeoff and go around is up here. Idle reverse is just over the detent here, coming all the way down. Now, if you want to go ahead and use this with a different aircraft, you don't have the detents in, Thrustmaster's thought about that for you, and with a simple screwdriver, you can go ahead and swap it out. They're included here, and then you can have a smooth push and pull without the detents. Now, of course, if you're using it with the Airbus, you're going to expect to use the detents, and this is obviously going to help fly. At least I'm hoping it is. We'll find out when I get it plugged into the Microsoft Flight Simulator. Now, probably the only thing that I would have any complaints about, and really this is just a minor technicality, is you'll often have the on-off controller here, the start levers on most aircraft. You have to lift up and get over a detent or have something to lock them out so that you don't accidentally knock them off. It's probably not going to be an issue here because it's definitely out the way of your hands, but it is something that's easy to do with this controller. Again, it's a minor complaint. With the build quality and the price that they charge for this, I think this is just an incredible looking thing. So now we have both the Thrustmaster Quadrant Airbus Edition and the Side Stick Edition. Hope to get them both onto Microsoft Flight Simulator and flying sometime this week and get them in action, and we'll see if we can get them sort of with an in-camera view and see how they work out. Of course, there's not a whole lot going for this. You pretty much set and forget, and it should make it a lot easier to fly the Airbus in the game. Thanks for watching, and I'll get updated with this as soon as I can. And once again, thank you, Thrustmaster, for sending this out to me so I can get it tested.